Hey, welcome to Happy Investor Method with Angela E. Matthews. I'm Karen Hunter, of course, and today is the first time we're sitting and talking about money. So I thought it would be nice for me to introduce you. Angela has been on the Karen Hunter Show many times. And as a matter of fact, in a lot of ways, when we talk about healthy, wealthy, and wise, I think it was your appearance maybe 5 years ago that got us on this path to really getting people's money together and thinking about the stock market differently. So I just want to introduce folk again. If they're watching you on YouTube for the first time, I just need them to know who you are because you're dope. So thanks for being here today and doing this whole Happy Investor Method program with us. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure and an honor and so much fun.
Well, I don't know if it's fun. So let me just ask. Okay, so you have the Happy Investor Method. How did that get started and why?
Geez, 5 or 6 years ago or so. It got started because there was a need, honestly. I really thought that a lot of people were investing. And then I realized that I was a minority within a minority within a minority of folks who did that. So at the same time, I was teaching about tech and marketing. And I love tech and marketing. It's so cool. But one of the things I love about it most is that when you invest in tech and marketing, it really grows faster than any other investment over the last couple of years. I mean, think about Google, Facebook, Apple, all those things. So there was a point when I started feeling really disconnected because of social media and tech, because that's what happens when you binge on it. Naturally, you start like thinking, what am I doing with my life? And so one of the ways that made me feel better about it was like, you know what? At least I own that company and it's making me money. So I'm not that, angry about it anymore. And so I started talking more and more about owning companies versus consuming companies. Because when I thought about the behavior, even though I'm not spending money to be on Facebook or social media or on any of these, devices, I'm still consuming. And then I realized that that still goes into the pattern of consumption and debt and time that I can never get back being on these platforms. And I started thinking, you know what, we need to shift debt to ownership. And how can I own this? And it was stock investing. And then it was just starting to teach people, enough people call you up asking questions. That's a really good idea, or at least a good leeway into, hey, I should start a business.
So you're self-taught. And when I think about it, a lot of folk, particularly people who are Black, are not invested in the stock market. And I think the stat is something like maybe 2% of us, or something ridiculous. You tell me, but why do you think that is?
Well, particularly for people of the diaspora, people of color, Black people, just across the board in that light, you have to realize that just about a little over 100 years ago, we were property. And so to transition from being property to owning property in its many different lights, it's a hard transition. And there's so many things that we have to overcome and had to overcome over time that we literally I think we have a lag. I don't think it's necessarily because we can't do it. I think it's because we started from negative. And just to get back to zero has taken some time. And so that's why you see it in the stock market. Investing in the stock market is a very luxurious conversation to have. Granted, you could literally start with $1. It's still a mindset that's a luxurious thing to have.
Do you think it's a trust thing, Angela? Do you think it's like, yes, we were on literally on Wall Street in chains, commodity being traded, Black people. But do you think it's a mindset of trust? Like, I put my money in this thing. It's like gambling. I put my money in this thing. The stock market goes down. I may lose all my money. There was a great stock market crash. 1987, there was, another crash. We just lost a lot of money, our wealth in the housing marketplace. That's a bank-driven crash. Can we really trust this? And, explain to people, Angela, why the stock market over time has always been something that actually has brought more money into people's coffers.
So I like to think about it in terms of, I always relate things back into human emotion and our basic instinct. And so naturally, you can have 10 people in your life that have treated you so well for so many years. Let one of those people do something shady or bad to you, you're like, I can't trust people. You see, I knew it. I can't trust nobody. It is me in this world. And if I can't do it, that's just it. you know? And that's the way it is when you think about investing in the stock market and you think of those drops. You listed about 5 drops over 100 years, right? So over 20 years, on average, the stock market has a track record of having a little hiccup every 20 years, which isn't bad when you think that it's run by human beings and computers. Like honestly, every 20 years, this whole system keeps going and it gets derailed every 20 years. And every 20 years, it goes back on the rail and then it keeps going and it keeps going higher and higher. But it's within our human condition to focus on the negatives. And so people tend to think that, hey, I'm working so hard for my money. Why do I want to put it in a system that has failed before? But what you want to think is, why do I want to put it in a system that has almost never failed? Right. And so when you think about the statistics, I mean, 1 out of 20 years, I mean, you got at least a good 3 to 4 20-year sets inside of you for this thing to go up and go down, up and go down, right? And so for us, I think specifically for people of color, we're so worried about getting burned because we've been so burned in our DNA. It's like in our DNA to not trust, that I actually like the stock market more because it actually is somewhat color blind, right? And for better or worse, it's one of the most objective things. You put your money out, it works, and your money comes back with friends. Sometimes it doesn't, most times it does if you do it right.
Okay. You personally, Angela E. Matthews, Happy Investor Method. Um, what drew you to it? And give us a personal story about when you said, "Ha ha, this thing works. Eureka! I figured it out."
Oh, it's for me. So I didn't come out the womb thinking money. I had definitely money thoughts. Like I thought money really grew on trees, and I was definitely the kid who told my mom, "Go to the bank, put that little card in, and get that money out, so we could keep doing what we have to do." And she's like, "Are you kidding me? Like there is no money in the bank right now." And I was like, "Come on, let's go. I'm gonna write the slip for you." This was back when we had deposit slips and all that. I was like, "Just give me a pen. I'll just write it. We give it in. It's gonna be good." And then she was just like, no. But later on, I had to recondition to myself that no, that's exactly how it works. Like now in my now in my age, I'm like, no, I'm gonna just write something and it's gonna come back out and that's just gonna be that. So, but I think at the same time, for me, what hit me was that my dad worked at a bank his whole, latter professional life. So he immigrated to the States in the 70s, was a very high up political official in our country back home, came to the States, became a mailroom person because they were like, you went to University of what? Never heard of that country. Doesn't matter. Mailroom for you. Worked himself up in corporate America, in banks, US Trust, Bank of America, all these banks, and then started working operations, trading in the stock market, fulfilling the trades of other rich people. And the man never once owned stock himself, like besides his 401k retirement. And so then one day he sat me down and it was just like, after the long, hard conversation of we're not paying for your college, like there's no more money, you're gonna have to take out loans and all this stuff. It was a really sad moment because you could see the pain in his face. Like if I had only done what I was doing for so many other people for myself, our family would be very different. Like even if I bought one stock a year from the time you were born. And when I
He said
researched
that to
out,
you?
it did, even just one stock a year. And people think one stock a year, can that really do anything? But it could have changed my life. My college could have been paid for one stock a year if they were thinking about what's around them. If they thought about buying a bank or even Apple, because they got my sister a Macintosh computer when they first came out, just one stock a year, my life would be different right now. He was not lying. And so it would almost be $500,000 different. And for college, that's huge. So I put that in the back of my mind. After college, I graduate, ton of, debt, of course, graduating in the recession too. And so I picked up a job that was like $50,000 a year. Nope, it was 45. I tried to negotiate 50 and they said, no, sorry, no. And it was in New York City. So I couldn't even move out. All my friends were getting apartments. I had to stay in my mother's basement because I could not afford to pay college loans and pay rent and do all these fancy things and not do happy hours. So I was like, nope, I'm going to do happy hours and I guess live in a basement. So I did that. And then there was this one defining moment when I was in my job and I wanted to actually go away on a vacation because I love to travel. I love to live my life. And my PTO request got denied. And I was like, wait, what? You're not going to let me take off? Like, this is really good flight deal. And I want to just go and you're not going to let me go. They were like, no, you can't go. And from that moment, I said, you know what? I'm never going to ask somebody else for permission to spend my life. And so I literally Googled, how do I get rich?
You
at their
wait,
desk.
time out. Angela E. Matthews. You Googled how do I get rich?
Why not? Who
You
else
know
am I
what?
supposed to ask?
I tell people, when they ask me questions, I'm like, you know what? Google is your friend. But
Yeah.
I never imagined that you would Google how do I get rich and you actually got a response that you acted on.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
tell that story, please tell that story.
It's crazy though. Google is probably the smartest person we all collectively know. Like, I didn't know any rich people. Really, I mean, rich to the way that I wanted to be rich. I didn't come from it. My friends weren't it. Like, the people I knew were rich, I didn't even know how to ask them. It was just the craziest thing. So, Google popped it up. How do I get rich? And it said that for most self-made millionaires, because I am self-made, so self-made millionaires, you're either going to have to invest or you're going to have to start a business. So entrepreneurship and investing. And the lowest form of investing that you can get into without having to take a loan or to do real estate or anything like that is stock market investing. So I did both.
Google said that.
Google, well, it was like 25 links, but
Okay.
this is the
So
gist of
you had
like,
to go down the rabbit hole.
oh, Jesus.
Yes.
If you ever try to Google like how to invest or how to get rich, be prepared to spend a whole half a day shifting through a lot of conflicting beliefs and thoughts. But this was the general gist. This was the thread. You invest or you start a business. Most wealthy people do both. And that was just that. And so from then on, I said, you know what? Every time I get paid, the fourth Tuesday of the month, I always make sure it was the fourth one. So like after everything else was paid, the fourth Tuesday of every single month, I bought stock. And it was seriously, I think my first stock purchase was Google. And I couldn't even afford a whole share at the time. I think it was like $300. And I was like, I guess I'm just going to put $100 into Google. But I did it. And every single month I kept buying more and more. Those vacations that I kept taking, there were times when I said, you know what? The stock market just kind of had a little blip like it does every so often. I've canceled vacations and said, sorry guys, I can't go. And I went and actually invested in companies because I realized, you know what? At the end of the vacation, it's going to be good memories and pictures. And it's going to hurt when they come back and tell me how amazing it is. But I'm definitely going to feel nicer seeing this money keep growing in my account. And so that's the decision. And that's how it started.
How long did it take before you said that Le Google was actually correct and you could start really seeing and were you growth investing? Did you even understand dividends? Did you understand any of that? Or you were just,
I didn't understand none of it. I just jumped in and I said, I will invest what I can afford to lose. And so I invested. That's why it was the end of the month. That's why it was after I paid the minimum on my credit card debt, which I know some folks are like, you should never pay the minimum. But I was just like, you know what? I can ask you for that money back, but I'm going to see if it could work better over here. And then I'm going to give you your money back when I start making more money over here. So don't come to me for debt advice. Like, I'm just not.
You're not
I
that
will
person.
give you something that a lot of the gurus would probably laugh at. But, it really worked for me. And I think it's when I chose to live in abundance, it was just like, you know what? This is the cost of that experience. And I'm just going to focus on making money.
Let's talk a little bit about both choosing to live in abundance, because I think that's important. And let me just say for the people tuning in, this is an impromptu conversation. This is what I do. I want to pick people's brains because I think that lessons and everything. And I also think that everyone's journey is personal. Just like we have our own fingerprints, there's not a one size fit all, solution for how to get out of debt, how to become wealthy. You found your path going to Le Google and it worked for you. Somebody else may go to Le Google and not get anything and not know how to, go through that. And my dad owned a business. That was his pathway. I own several businesses, but I don't do it like that, standing on my feet 18 hours a day, working a store. You'll find your path. But when you choose to live in abundance, Angela E. Matthews, what does that mean? When did you even arrive at that thought? Because that's a mantra.
That is a mantra. And honestly, it probably
Okay,
didn't come.
mantra. Fine.
What did you say it was?
I said mantra. Mantra,
Sorry.
potato, potato.
Himalaya, Himalayas.
All right. Mantra is proper. Okay. That is a mantra.
So I say this mantra probably came about six years ago. It's fairly recent. So I say I have like Angela 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. I think I'm actually at Angela 3.75. I'm on the clips. I feel it of a 4.0. I swear I do. It's like like I feel it in my fibers. It's the hardest and weirdest thing to explain, but I feel as if I'm being prepared for something and I'm also willing and I've accepted. So it's just like, all right, 4.0.
Come on, 4.0.
Let's see it, you know, caterpillar going to butterfly again. Okay. So anyway, this was Angela, I think almost 3.0. This definitely came with Angela 3.0, this mantra of choosing abundance. And once you choose abundance, it's almost, I feel as if throughout our lives, we hear about faith and praying. And sometimes when folks said have faith, I never really got it. I was like, have faith in what? Have faith in me? Have faith in extra source? Like, just have faith. This is your answer. This is like your bumper sticker. This is like the thing on the wall. Have faith. Like, what we doing? Like, what's the plan? And so I've always been a what's the plan kind of person. But when you think about abundance, there's two principles, right? And you can ascribe to one. The two can coexist. One is scarcity and one is abundance. You cannot have a complete alignment with abundance and have scarcity be a part of that, right? And so scarcity being that you think there will never be enough. And when you truly get this to your core, it's almost as if it's an onion peel. You will work on it, and then you will think you've solved it. And then something will happen, a memory will occur, or a conflict or something will happen. And then you'll realize, nope, you still got to learn about scarcity, right? And so when you think about there's always more than enough, we naturally think about ourselves. Are we scarce? Am I enough, right? Are the people around me enough? Is the system that I live in enough? Is the world enough? Are the things that I own, is that enough, right? Now, I'm not saying that enough necessarily means that it's your highest, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that when something is enough, that it is everything and everything, right? It just means that it is sufficient, right? And sufficient just means it's sufficient, right? Either it is or it's not. And so for me, I will always ascribe to the belief that I am sufficient, I am enough, I am more than enough, right? And sometimes it's hard because there's a whole lot of information around us to tell us we're not enough, right? The second you pop out the womb, if you're a woman, automatically you're not enough. The second you are born a person of color, a Black person, every single day, you are not enough. And everything that's happening right now, I think like the last couple of weeks, I've definitely had a hit on my psyche because there's so much you are not enough in our ears right now. And so I want you to think of that stuff as if it was the stock market that crashes and like once every 20 years. There are instances of us not being enough, but there are more instances of you being enough. There are more instances of you being abundantly above and beyond taken care of, right? How many times did you want something, you didn't have the money, and then poof, money came? You figured it out, right? But the thing is, you need to get to a point where you don't put yourself into that fight or flight crisis moment where you're trying to just make money come like this. You need to open yourself to know that I can always have money flowing to me. Money is always trying to get to you. It's you who's actually blocking it, right? And so when we offer up things like investing, when we offer things up like saving or all these things, your mind is going to naturally say, I can't get this. You never heard it. You weren't made for this. However, you have to naturally go within yourself and say, I'm abundant. I'm abundant as hell. Like I was born abundant. My heritage is abundance. Like tracing back for generations and millennia. Like there's just so much proof of it. We are infamous, not even infamous, just famous for taking nothing and making something, right? And if you can tap into that part of your DNA, it doesn't matter what numbers are in your bank account. It doesn't matter if it's a negative, a positive. It really doesn't matter anything. All you have to do is, step outside and say, I'm ready to get this money. Show me how to get it. And the answers will come.
And that's why we're here. So every week, Angela E. Matthews is going to be, and this is just, my introduction, because I love you so much that I want to introduce you to my folk, and then they're going to follow you. You got a page that's created, and I want to also thank you for joining the Hub. The Hub News, you guys Google search that, not Google search, I guess you can go into the search on YouTube, the Hub News. Angela will be there every Monday giving you a lesson. The blessing that you gave at our Healthy, Wealthy, Wise conference in 2020 in January, and even though you couldn't physically be there, was almost a precursor for where we are right now. It was one of the most popular. The place was packed, first of all. You did a presentation. You didn't know who was going to be there, but people are still talking about it. So I was like, let's take this on the road. But now we could do it and look at the world. Now everyone's in their house and they can all consume this. And it's, to me, I think a lot of lives are going to be changed. But more importantly, this abundance thing that you talked about is super important that we get this. I don't think we can get much further without everyone kind of leaning into this collective understanding that we're not just enough, but we need each other to get to the next place. So tell me a little bit about the investor method, the happy investor method, and what that looks like as people start to join. What are they going to get from this?
Absolutely. So the happy investor method, it's a cause. It's almost like a battle cry for people to start looking at money and having a better relationship with it through abundance. So a lot of my teachings, you'll notice, yes, they lean on numbers, and I'll show you how to do it. But my guarantee is that I won't you're not going to pull your hair out, which is why it's called happiness first. And so it's just that simple, really and truly. And what I do is I take folks who are super high achievers. So the folks who are like the ones in their family that people typically look up to, the ones who have done everything right. Like, honestly, you listen to your parents or not, but you just figured it out and you're making pretty good money. You freaking played the game, the rat race, and you're ready to just say, hey, I'm ready to peace out. Like, I'm done. I'm peacing out. If I can't do it now, I'm definitely going to do it in a few years. And when you get that hunch in your shoulder that I'm ready to peace out, then it's like, all right, well, let's go. Let's go have some fun. Let me show you this world of money. And I'm going to show it to you in a very empowering way. I'm going to show it to you in a way where your whole life is going to shift as a result of learning this. And I don't say it lightly. I say it because I teach through life principles and I teach through logic. So
And
you'll
there's a
get
lot of receipts out there. When did you peace out? All right, so they told you couldn't go on vacation, and you're like, I don't like this feeling. Okay, I'm gonna Google how to get rich, how to be wealthy. Figured it out, started investing. When did you come back and was like, you know what? You're never gonna tell me I can't go anywhere because I don't work for you anymore. I quit. I work for myself. How long did
real
that take?
story. I pieced out like it's probably about I had only a year in that job. I really didn't. That was my last W-2 job. That was the last time
Okay.
I had a W-2. Thank the Lord, thank my community, thank support. And what I did was, because I didn't have kids, I wasn't married, it was just me, I found a cheaper place to live. So I went to India after leaving said job,
Wait, you went to
getting my,
India, the country?
yes, the country.
Okay, okay.
I was, I was very wealthy. My thousands got multiplied into like
In one
many
year.
thousands in 1 year. Yeah. That's why I said it was a 3.0. Like, I just reevaluated the last 10 years of my life, and I realized that that was a huge shift for me. That was about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, but that time frame was like a huge shift for me. I was not the same person. The things I did then are still showing ripples now. And sometimes you don't realize it, that in the moment when your spirit tells you to do something, why it's telling you to do something. But I do believe we don't get time and space. And so sometimes I think it's kind of like our future self coming back and tapping us on the shoulder, like, hey, it's time to get up. And sometimes you're like, nah, I don't want to believe that feeling. But sometimes it'll just not let you go. And you'll just realize that the peace and discomfort that you will experience as a result of your action is nothing compared to the hell you will be in by not taking action. And so that was one for me. That was giving my notice. And I was so like witty about it. I told them, like, you don't want me here. I don't want you here. Let's work this out. Like, it was on like those terms. Like, so I can stay here and I will stay here and I will do your work. But do you want someone who's happy and joyful, or do you want someone who's like literally just here? And you got me on your website as like this only person of color. Like, we're going to have to take all that down. Like, when I leave here, like, seriously, because they would tote me around like as the token, like, yes, we're progressive, we're happy, we're an agency. And I was like, nah, blow that
Deuces.
out.
And so
Yes,
you moved to India.
I did. Okay,
What?
I should put, and as y'all
What?
gonna know me, like, we're gonna have a whole relationship throughout our time together. There was one defining moment that made me peace out. I fell off a cliff. So I went to
Like
Mexico. I got into an 18.
physically fell off a
I
cliff?
physically fell off of
Oh,
like an
okay.
80
Damn.
foot, 100-foot cliff, like in Mexico, newspaper front story, foreigner tries to throw herself off a cliff in Spanish. That's the headline.
No
So
way.
that was 11 years
Wait,
ago.
why am I just now finding this out?
Because there's too much. So, excuse me. So I fell off the cliff and I was like on this freaking rocks in Mexico, like bleeding, like on ATVs in the river, and I'm on the rocks, like looking at this ATV, and I'm alone, like no one, and the sun is so hot. And eventually someone swam across and came to me. Other people came down, like a whole rescue team. They had to hike because rocks were falling. It was crazy. And then I finally made it back to the States, broken ribs and stitches everywhere. And my mom was like a hot mess because she's like, I can't with you. That's also when I got life insurance. That was also when I got life insurance. I was like, you know what? I may be reckless, but the people I love should not suffer.
And you're 20 something years old.
I'm like 20. At this point, I think it was like 24. I was 24. And I got the life insurance policy. Like I said, the people I love should not suffer from my recklessness. I can't vouch that I won't be reckless, but this should be good.
Right.
But as I was recovering and I was healing and the doctor gave me the okay to go back to work, I sat and cried my eyes out because I had to go back to that office. And I cried and cried. And I was just like, maybe I shouldn't have, maybe it wouldn't have been bad to not make it back. That was literally the thought I had. I was like, maybe at least it would have been all over. And that was when I realized how miserable I was. I was so miserable, so miserable. So that was the real wake up call for me. It was, anything's better than this. I can't go back. And so that's like 6 months after that, that's when I quit. And I broke up with somebody that I was in like a 9-year relationship with. And I went to India and I figured out life.
All right. So they're going to have to find out.
So like I said, we got a long time.
Now you have a beautiful family. You're married. You got the baby. You got all of this. Well, she's not even a baby anymore. She was almost half grown when I first met her.
She's still going on like 27
right now. She is very brilliant. And you're going to talk about all of that as well, I'm sure, over the course of this. But I'm just, I'm excited for what people are going to learn from you. You are a master teacher. And you show by example and you live your life in a you helped me in so many ways I can't even express to you. Just the clarity, just the questions, the charts, it's like how you write and script things out. And I'm like, and it just becomes crystal clear. So I'm excited about what people are going to learn from you, Angela E. Matthews, Happy Investor Method. And I just want to thank you for, when I reached out, calling me back.
Of course, I will. Hey, that's all we got to do. We get called.
Okay.
You just got to answer.
So next week, the lessons start. Let me thank you again. And folks, subscribe to my channel, but also subscribe to the Hub News. You can just search it in the YouTube thing. And then you can go see Angela. She has her own space there. Angela E. Matthews, Happy Investor Method. Until next week. Thank you for being here.